10 Shocking Times Love Led to Murder. Welcome back to Odd Occasions, where we uncover the darkest corners of human nature. Love is often seen as a force for good, a bond that brings people together. But sometimes love takes a dangerous turn, leading people down a path of obsession, jealousy, and even murder. In today's episode, we're looking at 10 shocking cases where love turned deadly, showing just how far some will go when passion turns into rage. These chilling stories will leave you questioning the darker side of love and relationships. Number 10. The Case of Kawas Manekshaw, Nanavati, 1960. One of the most infamous cases in Indian history, Kawas Manekshaw Nanavati is a name that became synonymous with love turned deadly. Nanavati was an Indian Navy commander, a man of honor and duty. But in 1959, his life took a dark turn when he discovered his wife's betrayal, and it ended in murder. Nanavati and his wife Sylvia had a seemingly normal life. They were married with 2 children, but Nanavati's naval duties meant he was often away from home. On April 27, 1959, when Nanavati returned home, he noticed something was off. Sylvia was acting distant, and when pressed, she made a devastating confession. She had been having an affair with another man, Prem Ahuja. Later that day, in a state of turmoil, Nanavati took his family to a movie theater. But what seemed like a typical family outing was anything but. Afterward, Nanavati went back to his ship, retrieved a firearm, and set out to confront Ahuja. First, Nanavati went to Ahuja's office, but he wasn't there. Determined, he made his way to Ahuja's residence. When the 2 men finally met, an altercation ensued. In a fit of rage, Nanavati fired multiple shots. Ahuja fell to the ground and died on the spot. After the murder, Nanavati went to the deputy commissioner of police and turned himself in. The case went to trial, and though the jury initially acquitted Nanavati of murder, the Bombay High Court overturned that decision, declaring him guilty of premeditated murder. Nanavati's appeal reached the Supreme Court of India, which upheld the verdict, sentencing him to life in prison. This shocking case shook the nation, raising questions about passion, betrayal, and justice. Next, we explore another chilling tale of love gone wrong, a case where jealousy turned a romance into a deadly obsession. Number 9. The Murder of Shraddha Walkar, 2022. Trust can be a dangerous thing, especially when placed in the wrong hands. In 2022, a case shocked India. A brutal murder carried out by someone Shraddha Walkar once trusted, her partner, Aftab Poonawalla. What began as a romance quickly turned into a nightmare. After meeting on a dating app, Walkar, age 26, and Poonawalla, age 28, soon moved in together. But their relationship was troubled from the start, with Walkar's family strongly opposing the union. The tension between the couple reached its peak during a heated argument over marriage. Just days after the fight, inside their shared home in South Delhi, Poonawalla committed a crime too horrific to imagine. He murdered Walkar, and in a gruesome act, dissected her body into 35 pieces, scattering them across the forests of Delhi. The horrific details of the case quickly became a media sensation, with reports of the brutal dismemberment, interviews with police, and tearful family members all flooding the news. The story of Shraddha Walkar serves as a chilling reminder of how love, trust, and relationships can sometimes take a deadly turn. Next, we dive into another shocking case where passion and betrayal led to devastating consequences. Number 8. The Murder of Kanpur Jyoti, 2014. In 2014, Piyush Shamadasani called the authorities to report his wife, Kanpur Jyoti, had been abducted by a group of unknown men on motorcycles. But what seemed like a tragic kidnapping quickly unraveled into something far more sinister. At 2 a.m., police discovered Jyoti's body inside a car. She had been stabbed 17 times, her lifeless body a testament to the brutal attack. Soon after, Shyamadasani's truth came to light. He confessed to the crime and was arrested immediately. Shyamadasani had orchestrated the entire murder plot, hiring the so-called unknown assailants to kill his wife. The plan was clear. Awadesh, Renu, Sonu, and Ashish, the hired killers, took Jyoti to a remote location where they murdered her, all to free Shyamadasani from his marriage so he could be with his lover, Manekshaw. After nearly 8 years of trials, on October 21, 2022, the Kanpur District Court sentenced Shyamadasani, Manekshaw, and the 4 hired killers to life in prison for murder, conspiracy, and tampering with evidence. The callousness of Shyamadasani's plan and his willingness to go to such lengths to be with his lover shocked the public and received widespread media coverage throughout India. Next, we take a look at a case of passion and jealousy that spiraled out of control, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Number 7. The case of Nikki Entzel, 2020. In 2020, Nikki Entzel faced a murder charge for a crime driven by love and greed. Her offense? The murder of her husband, Chad Entzel, with the help of her lover, Earl Howard. The motive was as old as time itself, a desire to be with her lover and to collect on Chad's insurance policy. On January 2, 2020, investigators discovered Chad Entzel's body inside his burning home. His body was found near a propane heater, and Nikki claimed she had been staying at a motel when she called 911 to report the fire. But soon, her story began to unravel. It was revealed that Nikki had been staying at the hotel with her current boyfriend, Earl Howard. An autopsy determined that Chad had died before the fire from 2 fatal gunshot wounds. Authorities were able to connect Nikki and Earl to the crime using surveillance footage and phone data. Despite overwhelming evidence, Nikki tried to pin the blame solely on Earl, insisting that she wasn't in the room when the murder occurred. But the truth was clear. Both were involved in the plot. In October 2022, Earl Howard was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Just a few months later, in February 2023, Nikki Entzel received a life sentence for her role in the crime. A tale of betrayal, murder, and greed. Nikki Entzel's case serves as a reminder of just how dangerous love can become when mixed with deception and self-interest. Next, we explore another tragic case where passion led to devastating consequences. Number 6. Ex-spouse crashes. Thanksgiving dinner, 2022. Thanksgiving is often a time of gratitude and family gatherings, where loved ones come together to celebrate and share a meal. But in Houston, Thanksgiving 2022 turned into a nightmare for one family. A former spouse entered a home and opened fire, killing 2 people and injuring 2 more during what should have been a day of peace. Chief Patricia Cantu of the Houston Police Department reported that a man and a woman were pronounced dead at the scene. Another man was found in serious condition, while a 15-year-old boy, thankfully, survived and was rushed to the hospital in stable condition. The horrific incident unfolded right after dinner, just as the family had finished celebrating. It's believed that the shooter was the ex-spouse of one of the victims. He entered the house through the back door and immediately began firing his weapon. The suspect's identity was not immediately known, but authorities strongly suspected a domestic conflict involving the deceased woman and her former partner. Inside the house, 4 others were present during the shooting. Miraculously, they all managed to escape unharmed. But the scene was chaotic. The shooter fired multiple rounds and even reloaded during the attack. What should have been a day of Thanksgiving turned into a tragedy for one Houston family, a chilling reminder that violence can strike even on the most cherished days of the year. Next, we delve into another case where love and betrayal led to devastating consequences. Number 5. Lexington man arrested after killing wife, 2022. Love can be a double-edged sword. It has the power to uplift us and make us feel invincible. But sometimes, that same love can turn dark, leading to acts we never thought possible, even murder. On Wednesday, November 23, 2022, Stefan Henderson made a chilling call to police. He claimed he needed help. His reason? He had just shot his wife. When authorities arrived at the scene, they found the body of Talina Henderson, age 47, with multiple gunshot wounds. It was a tragic ending to a story that could have been avoided. Stefan Henderson was arrested and now faces charges of murder, domestic violence, and illegal firearm possession. What's even more heartbreaking is that just days before her death, Talina had applied for an emergency protective order, but it was never approved in time. In February 2023, Stefan Henderson entered a plea of not guilty to the charges, and his trial is still ongoing. This case serves as a stark reminder of how love, when twisted by fear or anger, can lead to devastating consequences. Next, we explore another case where jealousy and passion took a deadly turn, shattering lives forever. Number 4. An author who wrote about a murder, then committed one, 2018. In a shocking twist, a woman who wrote about love and murder ended up committing the very crime she had once imagined. Nancy Crampton Brophy, a romance novelist from Oregon, was sentenced to life in prison after being found guilty of murdering her husband, Daniel Brophy, in 2018. What makes this case even more chilling? Nancy had written an essay titled How to Murder Your Husband. In June 2018, Daniel Brophy was found shot twice in the kitchen of their home. The motive? A $1.5 million insurance policy. Nancy and her husband had been struggling financially, and prosecutors argued that Nancy had both the means and motive to kill her spouse in order to collect the payout. While the murder weapon was never recovered, Nancy had purchased a firearm that matched the shell casings found at the scene. For the jury, the pieces of the puzzle were clear. Before her arrest, Nancy had self-published several romance novels, including titles like The Wrong Husband and The Wrong Lover. But it wasn't just fiction. Her real-life crime echoed the stories she wrote. This case, where fiction became reality, left many shocked at how far someone would go when love and greed collide. Next, we turn to a case of jealousy that spiraled out of control, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Number 3. The murder of John T. Conlin, 1931. Sometimes the darkest schemes involve convincing someone else to commit murder, and in some cases, those conspiracy theories turn out to be all too real. In 1931, John T. Conlin, aged 45, was shot in the spine just steps away from his apartment, leaving him paralyzed and clinging to life. Though doctors gave him 30 days at best, Conlin soon slipped into a coma. When his wife Amy heard the news, she burst into tears. Her grief seemed overwhelming. But it wasn't long before everything unraveled, revealing that her tears were nothing more than a sham. Investigators uncovered letters written to Amy from another man. Their search led to James Depew, a 22-year-old who confessed to having an affair with Amy. Months later, Conlin briefly emerged from his coma and immediately recognized Depew as the man who had shot him. Sadly, he would never make a full recovery and died from his wounds 7 months after the shooting. Depew eventually admitted to staging a phony robbery in which he shot Conlin, all part of a plan to run away with Amy. In his possession were Conlin's identification and letters detailing the affair. Though Depew was sentenced to 30 years, to life for the crime, Amy Conlin managed to escape justice, walking away from the courtroom unscathed. This shocking case is a chilling reminder of how love can lead to betrayal, and ultimately, murder. Next, we explore another case where passion led to a deadly betrayal, forever changing the lives of those involved. Number 2. Woman killed after exposing husband's affair, 2022. A 38-year-old mechanic was taken into custody after authorities uncovered a shocking crime of jealousy and revenge. His wife had exposed his affair, and for that, she paid with her life. On the eve of the Raya holiday, the man brought his 28-year-old wife to Kajang Hospital. She was unconscious. Tragically, she passed away later that evening. But something wasn't right. After examining her body, the medical officer reported the case as suspicious. The woman had injuries covering her body, and the cause of death was a blunt force blow to the head. As police dug deeper, the truth began to emerge. The husband had been furious with his wife for revealing his affair on social media. His rage consumed him, and in a desperate act of revenge, he murdered her. Now this tragic case is playing out in a Malaysian court, a stark reminder of how secrets, betrayal, and rage can spiral into deadly consequences. Next, we reach our final case, where jealousy and passion push someone to the brink, turning love into a deadly obsession. Number 1. Singapore man beats wife to death, 2020. The case of Kui Bing Tao, a Singaporean man, is a tragic reminder of how love can turn into rage, leading to unthinkable actions. Kui was sentenced to 7 years in prison and 9 canings for the brutal death of his wife, Liang Xiaoying. The trigger: her affair with a co-worker. In a fit of fury, Kui yanked her to the ground and began battering her as she curled up on the concrete, defenseless. He kicked her repeatedly, aiming for her head and neck. After several blows, Liang fell and hit her head hard on the ground. As Kui continued his attack, he threatened to divorce her once they returned to China. But before he could carry out that threat, Liang's body gave out. She stopped breathing, and by the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. She was already dead. Thanks for joining us as we explored these heartbreaking and shocking stories of love gone wrong. While love can be a beautiful thing, these cases show the tragic consequences when it takes a dark turn. If you want more unsettling stories and deep dives into human behavior, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Odd Occasions. Let us know in the comments which case surprised you the most. Stay curious, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.